Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want it all: health, wealth, freedom, authenticity, love, beauty, all of the hidden gems just waiting to be uncovered. This is the podcast for women who are ready to discover their inner creatrix, to discover their inner manifester, and who want to find the ecstatic in every day. Hello, and welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. Or if you are tuning in for the first time, welcome. I am so glad to have you here. Today, I will be doing a solo recording on how self-care can actually restore desire, intimacy, and connection in your marriage. So we are going to talk about how self-care and how your relationship to self and your love of yourself is actually the foundation for a beautiful, harmonious, pleasure-filled connection with your partner. Regulating your own nervous system, filling your own cup, having strong boundaries around your self-care and your me time, ending the cycle of overgiving and martyrdom. All of these things actually restore magnetism within your marriage. They actually restore desire and closeness and open up space and time and create room and desire for intimacy with your partner again. So, honoring yourself and your needs actually creates the space for love to flow. I think that a lot of women view self-care as indulgence, right? We think bubble baths, trips to the spa, getting your hair, your nails done, getting a massage, outsourcing usually some sort of need or want or the me time that you're really craving and needing. But self-care is not all bubble baths and trips to the spa. Self-care is actually the daily deliberate choices that we make to nourish ourselves. Things as simple as your morning oral care routine, or the way that you dress yourself and get ready for your day. These are opportunities for deep self-care practices. And self-care encompasses so much more. Self-care is also your health care. This is also protecting your nervous system. This is also about restoring your energy and vitality. So physical, emotional, mental. I view self-care as a holistic practice, even spiritual. And tending to all these aspects of care for ourselves actually prevents you from running on fumes and keeps you connected to yourself and available for love rather than resentment. When you have a regulated, nourished body, then connection is possible with your partner. Because intimacy needs a safe place to land. And if you are running on fumes, exhausted, your nervous system is all out of whack, you are going to be irritable, you are going to be reactive instead of responsive, you are going to be burnt out and not available for that intimacy, closed to that intimacy, should occasion for it arise. So I see nervous system regulation as the foundation for this. And regular daily practices of grounding, breath work, EFT tapping, just pausing and checking in with what's going on with your nervous system. And I've done some deep dives in past episodes on this. So if you go back, I'll try to link them in the show notes. If you go back and review, you can find some deeper dives on that. But this regulation of your nervous system is the foundation, right? So it's hard to show up for yourself or anybody else in a present, mindful, loving, patient way, which Our primary relationships and those with anyone else do require that. It's hard to show up in the way and your highest self in the way that you want to show up if your nervous system is dysregulated. So starting with that, and even a sub level of that, the basement level, as I would say, of that is my body nourished? So have I fed myself today? Did I get enough sleep? Have I drank enough water? Have I moved my body in some way? So really that is the foundational level. Have I physically taken care of my basic needs? And you're probably familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So baseline, do I feel safe? And am I nourished? Is my body nourished? And so if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, if you're feeling frazzled, if your nervous system is in fight or flight, freeze, fawn, you're, in your sympathetic activated nervous system, then it's hard to connect. And it also is easy to see your partner as the problem, to see your partner as the enemy. So when you're in that survival mode, it's really hard to connect. Regulation of your nervous system moves you out of that survival mode. So that's the baseline. That is the baseline, obviously not the destination. So from safety, then we can move into the self-care practices that you would think of more traditionally as quote unquote self-care, soothing, indulging, pampering. So that would be the next level up, the next level of needs, filling your cup in pleasurable ways. And that is not one size fits all. That is very individual to each woman. What fills your cup? What brings pleasure and aliveness and softness and restores, as I've said, again, I've done some past episodes on feminine reclamation, if you want to go back and look at those. But what really brings you into your feminine energy and awakens your eros, your vital force energy, really makes you come alive. And so that can look different for different women, obviously. For someone, it might be time in nature, gardening. For someone, this might be those more traditionally thought of forms of self-care, like getting your hair done or going to a spa or, indulging in a bubble bath. For some, this might just be alone time reading a book. For some, this might be dance or art or creative expression, or it might be all of those things. But the key is that is something that brings you pleasure, that is deeply rooted in pleasure for yourself. And what happens when we are following that pleasure, when we are following our passions and nourishing ourselves in that way, is we actually become magnetic. So we actually create magnetism. People are attracted to people who are living in their pleasure. And so when you move from just being regulated and just getting out of survival mode into following pleasure and filling up your own cup, you're not just coping with life. You're not just coping with the day to day. You are really becoming a magnet to those experiences that you want to have in your life. And when we are not filling our own cups in this way, when we are not giving ourselves those moments of pleasure throughout our day, then we become depleted. So when we are not energetically giving back to ourselves, doing the things that we deeply love and care to do, and rather just going down our to-do list, rote checking off the have-tos, the things that we should be doing, and especially as moms, for the moms that are listening to this right now, we have so much giving, so much energy going out to our families. And even if you don't have kids, likely you have a career and you're doing the lion's share of the housework, if not completely running the house. You are responsible for the emotional labor of the household. And Most of us are in caretaking mode of our husbands as well. And not only that, but some of us are caring for elderly parents, running community organizations, caring for our communities, because this is what women do, right? So we're giving, giving, giving of all this energy. And when we're not taking time to pour some of that energy back into ourselves, we get depleted. That eros, that life force energy that's running through us, it gets drained. And what happens when it is drained and we are depleted is we have nothing left to give to the marriage. We have nothing left to give to our partners. And obviously, when this happens, there is decreased desire, decreased intimacy, emotional distance, and classic resentment. And it's very easy to feel like our partner is the problem, that they are causing this. Because when we are the ones that are taking up that responsibility, when we're shouldering the lion's share of the responsibility, as I said, in the household, it's very easy to turn that around and be like, well, he's not showing up for me. He's not doing his part. He is the one that is blocking me from this me time. That frustration over the unequal household labor is a real thing. I mean, this is a real problem. But I will argue in a lot of ways, this is a self-imposed problem. And so taking radical responsibility for your part in that cycle can be life-changing magic. And so to break that cycle, to break that resentment cycle, to break that martyrdom cycle, beyond self-care and prioritizing yourself, it's very important to know how to set boundaries. Set boundaries around your time, your energy, your me time. Set boundaries around your self-care practice to learn to stop overgiving, overextending, and feeling like you have to do it all. And I know as moms, we have this belief that we do have to do it all. And if we don't, everything around us is going to fall apart. And when we have that belief, it's really easy to see the evidence for that. And so I remember just personally from my situation, I would never let my husband care for the babies when they were infants. I had a belief that he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it right. He would mess it up. And it was like this existential crisis. Even the times when I was so sleep deprived and I so needed him to take the baby so that I could just sleep without being woken up to nurse every 30 minutes, I couldn't let go of that control. When I would give him the baby, I would be so in fear that something was going to happen, that he was going to fall asleep and squish the baby, or, whatever horror stories I was building in my head, that he couldn't be responsible for the newborns, for the infants, that even if I did give him the baby, I wouldn't be able to sleep because I would be so wound up in that story that I was telling myself. So when we are believing those stories, when we have the belief that it is all on us, we create that reality. And, as time went on, it wasn't that my husband was this like terrible, irresponsible person. It was my belief system. And as time went on and I started doing this work on myself, I started to realize that I had to rewrite that story. And, now he's much more involved with the kids and there's so much less burden on me. And so far, they're all still alive and nothing terrible has happened. So it's really important for us to learn to let go of some of that. And part of that is in delegation. Part of that is in having honest conversations about the workload. Part of that is in getting clear on your boundaries around what I call your hell no's, right? So you've probably heard me talk about this before, your hell yeses and your hell no's. What lights you up and what is absolutely crossing boundaries. So getting clear on what your boundaries are. What is it that you really hold so much resentment about having to do, quote unquote, having to do? And if it's something that you're having to do that you truly, truly do not want to do, if it's a chore, a household responsibility, a responsibility with the kids that you hold so much resentment around, is there a way to shift that responsibility? Is there a way to delegate? So when we grit our teeth and bear it and just, I have to do this, grind through it, and in that masculine energy, that is doing such a disservice to our marriage dynamic. And sometimes it is something that really you do need to keep as a task. And if that is the case, how can you change your relationship with it? How can you change the story to make it something that you get to do rather than something that you have to do? And that is deep work and probably deserves its own podcast all on its own. But the point being that it is very important to set boundaries around overextending and overgiving, and then to also set boundaries around your me time, around your self-care, around the time that you carve out to fill your own cup. I believe that it is so, so important to prioritize daily self-care. Even small practices matter and can make such a big difference. And it's not just the actual physical thing that we're doing, but the energy behind it, the energy that we put into it. So again, going back to just the daily practice of like brushing your teeth, right? This is something we all do every day. So the oral care routine that we have, all of us have an oral care routine. And another one is a bathing routine. Every day, all of us have some sort of bathing routine. And so we can do this in the energy of just, this is something on my to-do list that I have to get done. I have to brush my teeth. I have to wash my hair. Like these are just check. Okay, I got my bath today. Or we can come to it with the energy of, I get to give myself 5 minutes of luxurious mouth care. And that might sound silly, but this is actually how I have started to view it. And so I have created a very deep and sacred oral care routine, which involves tongue scraping. I remineralize my teeth. I do oil pulling. I do daily massage on my masseter because, as women, we hold so much tension in our jaws, and a lot of that grinning and bearing it, gritting our teeth and holding back those things that, the resentment that we don't want to say out loud causes so much tension in our jaws. And so that's part of my oral care routine too. So just these simple things that we, again, quote unquote, have to do every day. How can you change your energy around it? Also, again, with the bathing. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you have definitely heard the story about how my first boundary was around getting baths alone. I used to let the kids get in the bubble bath with me, and I could never enjoy myself because I always had babies all over me while I was trying to bathe. And we had a big garden tub at the time, and so it was like their spa, their hot tub, and I would let them invade my time. And that was my first big boundary: was I lock the door. I stay in there for a half hour, and it's a luxurious part of my day every single day. And so taking that, yes, we all need to bathe. That's something we all need to do, but taking that and turning it into, transforming it into a magical time where we actually luxuriate and it is pleasure filled. We give back to ourselves. So in the bathing, like bringing the idea of like bringing the spa into your home in that energy, like I am going to use lotions and soaps and shampoos and things that I love the smell of, that smell so good and just light me up. And when I wash myself, I'm not just gonna scrub it on really fast and rinse it off and be done, but I'm gonna take time to really massage it into my skin and really like work on areas. Oh, I feel some tension in my neck, so let me turn the shower on hotter and just give myself a little massage for a few minutes in that area that's tense. Like we can bring this energy of devotion into these simple daily tasks. And to bring it back to marriage, like, why does this matter for marriage? Why does this energetic or mindset change around the daily self-care practices matter for your marriage? Because when we shift this energy, when we start meeting our own needs, this actually shifts the relational energy, shifts the energy between us and our partner as well. When you are filling your own cup and there is overflow, intimacy flows naturally from that overflow. When you are carving out this time and taking time for yourself, getting that me time, giving yourself that me time, because it's not your partner that gives you that me time. You give yourself that time. You make boundaries around it and you carve out that time and you hold those boundaries around it. You give that to yourself. And so when you start giving to yourself in that way, there's less resentment. And these practices, rather than taking time away, actually create more time. So there's this thing, it's the same with meditation. When you add 30 minutes of meditation to your day, you don't lose 30 minutes, you gain hours. I swear it might, from a physical standpoint, this might seem crazy, but from an energetic standpoint, you gain hours. When you devote time for yourself, when you quote unquote take time, when you create time for yourself, for your pleasure filled self care practices, you actually gain time in your day because you're regulating your nervous system and you are in a calm and focused state of mind. You are in a more expansive state of mind. So there's less getting frazzled, there's less getting distracted, there's less doom scrolling. That's a trauma response. We doom scroll because we can't think straight. We're frazzled. We're worn thin. So there's actually, when we regulate ourselves and when we take time for ourselves, we open up more time for intimacy, more time for closeness with our partners. Also, when we are in this state, we are more likely to feel gratitude, we are more likely to be present, and there's more likely to be desire. Because let's face it, when you get to the end of the day and you're frazzled and you're burnt out and you don't want to be touched by anyone else, especially as a mom, that being touched out feeling is such a real thing. But when you're just so freaking over it, the last thing you want is your partner reaching for you for sex. The last thing you want is to be intimate in that way, because you haven't gotten that time to yourself. You haven't gotten that time to recharge. And therefore, the intimacy just becomes another thing on your to-do list that you have to do for somebody else, that you have to check off. And that feeling, that state of being, is a surefire way to kill desire in a marriage. This also reminds me too that, when you are in that overgiving state, a lot of times, we look at husbands as like another child we have to take care of, or another chore, or when we are overgiving in the household duties, when we're the ones that always does the cooking and cleaning and house care and child care and all of that, that builds a resentment that actually our partners are not partners, that they are just another like child in the house that we have to manage. And again, that is a surefire way to kill desire, because no one desires a man that they feel like they have to micromanage and be in charge of and pick up after. So again, with creating the strong boundaries and delegating, and this is a process, this is not usually an overnight thing. It took me years to learn these skills and how to delegate. And this isn't about, being like nagging or bitching or creating to-do lists for your husband. This isn't that. This is an energetic piece. What we're talking about today is the energetics behind it. And when we are in the energy of filling ourselves up first, when we're in that energy, these things actually start falling into place naturally. And again, probably not overnight. Again, you have to be very intentional and come at this daily. And there's mindset changes, there's energetic changes that have to be made in order to create the right container for these changes to occur within the marriage and with your partner. But your glow is medicine for the relationship. When you start caring for yourself, that glow from the inside out returns. When your body is flowing again with the feminine energy of care and relaxation, and pleasure, not just intimacy pleasure, not sexual pleasure, but we're talking about pleasure in the everyday, pleasure in the daily experience. Again, just little things like your daily care routines. You can go so much deeper into that. You can go so much deeper into what does your soul crave. And this can, again, it can be a spiritual level. Are you taking time to meditate, to pray, to put your hands in the earth and work with the earth and connect to the energy of the earth? All of these things recharge you and refill you. And when women lead from that state of desire, that state of pleasure, when we lead our lives in following that eros, we become magnetic. As I said, we become radiant. And that glow is medicine for the marriage. And men respond to that. Your husband, your partner will respond to that energy so well and sometimes so quickly. And so what can this look like on a daily basis for you? Again, this is so personal. This is so personal to each woman, what lights you up. For one person, the idea of a 30-minute run is like torture, boot camp, something that you would absolutely hate to do and it would seem like punishment. For another person, a 30-minute run is like deep, deep self-care. It can be a meditation and releasing energy that has been stuck in your body and, all kinds of things. So for one person, the idea of going to a salon and getting your nails done, I hate getting my nails done at a salon. I've had it done like 3 times in my life, and it's like torture to me. So for one person, the idea of going to a salon and getting their nails done, having somebody poke and file is torture. And to another person, that is deep, deep, deep self-care. So again, this is what makes you feel good. So start with your hell yeses and your hell nos. Get out a piece of paper, you write a line down the middle of the paper. On one side, hell yeses. On the other side, hell nos. So the yes side, what lights you up? And you might even want to go back to when you were young. Go back to before serious relationships and children and mortgages and careers and all this. And what did you do in your free time in those times? What did you do that really was just, a full body yes that just lights you up? And, maybe that's dancing or writing or singing, creative expression or exercise. Like I said, running, lifting weights. This can be, something that really lights some people up too. So go and make that list. Is it time to meditate? Is it time to walk in the woods and be in nature? Is it time to have your hands in the garden? Make that list of the things that really light you up. And on the other side, your hell knows. What are you done tolerating? Where are you done overgiving? Where are you drawing lines and boundaries and saying, I am not available for this anymore? And again, very, very personal to each person. For some, this might be that I need nighttime support with the kids, right? Like I was saying before, like I really need my partner to step up. And if you have, young kids and babies at home, to step up for the nighttime care. This could be around household chores. I am done doing the dishes every single day of the week. I want support there. It's not our duty to do these things, right? So if you're partnered, then you share this home, you share this life, you share this family, you share these animals and plants and home and all of the things that need care. And they are his to tend as well. And so you think about where you could delegate. Think about also when you're overextending to people outside of the marriage, because this actually does have effects on your marriage as well. So for me, again, an example, like I was overgiving to my community. I was running multiple nonprofits, volunteering lots of my time with multiple nonprofits at the same time, and really overextending myself in my community. And while I loved that work and loved doing it, I realized that in overextending myself and always saying yes to a project and always being like, yeah, I'll go ahead and volunteer for that thing. Yes, I'll go ahead and pick up the thing or drop off the thing. That overextending myself was actually having repercussions in my relationship because I was stretched thin and burnt out. So creating a list of where you want to start upholding some boundaries is a great place to start. And then from there, how can you carve out time for some of those things on your yes list? How can you pick one? Start with just one. And maybe start with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 30, whatever you think you can manage, and commit. Start with a commitment to yourself to do that one thing every single day. Another great place to start is nervous system regulation. Checking in with yourself. Again, I have past podcasts on this. I would, go back to those, but, a practice like meditation, breath work, EFT tapping, yoga, intuitive movement. There's so many different ways, grounding, just going outside and looking at the sun for a few minutes can completely change your nervous system. So making sure that you're regulated on a daily basis. And again, back to even the basement level, toddler level. Did you feed yourself? Are you running on coffee and your toddler's leftover granola bar? Did you give yourself some, protein and nourishing food for breakfast? Have you drank enough water today? Are you making sure to go to bed on time and not stay up late doom scrolling on social media? Basic things, basic self-care. So take care of your basic needs. Those things are so important and amazingly have such a huge impact on your marriage. I can tell you when I started regulating myself and caring for myself, it was such a game changer. It was even like the mindset I had around it being his fault started to shift just in practicing regular care of my body. So it shifts the energy so much. And view these things as devotion. I love to say self-care is not selfish. Self-care is essential. But this is all with the purpose of devotional self-love. So in the energy of loving yourself, of caring for yourself just as you would care for your children, your pets, your husband, your family, anybody else that you love. Turning that around and giving yourself that love, because your first relationship is with yourself and your last relationship will be with this body, with yourself. And how you treat yourself, how you treat your body in this life is so important. That is our first job. Our first job is to care for this vessel, right? So how we're showing up for ourselves is such deep work. And this work, this is how the spark returns. This is how the spark returns in your marriage. If you're martyring, if you're overgiving, this is the first step to creating or recreating that connection, that desire, and that intimacy in your marriage. And this is feminine reclamation. This is deep work. This is deep work. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to really embody this, if you want help with creating the container, creating the space and the time and the structure to devote yourself to this devotional work to yourself, then I would be so, so, so happy to walk that path with you. I have an 8-week container called Revive where we do just that. I do one-on-one coaching, group containers. So you can find me on Instagram, Nicole Desiree Goff. You can find me on my website, NicoleGoffSpeaks.com, which is soon to be NicoleGoff.com. And I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you have any questions, reach out. I am here to support your feminine reclamation as well. So go out there and pick something to do just for yourself that nourishes you and makes you feel so awesome and so alive today. I love you, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.